Good evening, everybody. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Might as well get started here. Today is the June 14th, 2022 Easton Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. The first hearing on the docket is public hearing variance 22-6. Applicant is seeking relief from minimum lot size to construct a new home for property located at 144 Center Street. Tim is not yet in. Hang on.
That's not what I wanted. Mr. Chair, we should take a roll call too.
What's that?
We should take a roll call so I know who's here.
Oh, you cannot see them?
No, I can, but let's take a roll call for the board. I can.
Okay, go ahead. All right, so
Mike, this is Stephanie. Technically, as part of this remote meeting process, the chair is supposed to do a verbal roll call, have everyone acknowledge that they are here.
okay. Why don't we just go ahead, Ryan?
I'm here. Ryan Cook.
Steve?
Reporting in.
Jeremy?
This is Jeremy, and I'm here. Jeremy Kay, and I'm here.
Tim?
Tim McCall here.
Ed?
Present.
Ed Watson? And John?
John Curran is present.
Okay. So I opened the 6:30 hearing for variance 22-6. Tim, do you want to read the advertisement and any comments that we have for that one?
Sure will. The Easton Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 14th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. to be held remotely on petition variance Mary C. Simonson for property located at 144 Center Street, Easton, Mass. Assessors map 27U, lot 24 for a variance pursuant to East Code Book Chapter 235 zoning, subchapter 235-16 and Appendix B to allow zoning relief from the 40,000 square foot minimum lot size in a residential zone to construct a new home. The virtual meeting link will be contained within the posted agenda at least 48 hours in advance of the meeting. This notice is also available at masspublicnotices.org. Now I'll read the comments. Board of Health said incomplete with the following comment. We need to get approved septic plan perk test. Has been already done, Mark Taylor. Environmental planner, not applicable. Fire department comment, no comments or concerns from the fire department. Planning and zoning board, comment recommend at their meeting on May 23rd, 2022. The planning board voted 5-0 to recommend the variance application for 144 Center Street. And that's all we have.
Great. Members of the board sitting on this hearing are Ryan Cook, Stephen Merlin, Tim McCall, John Curran, and myself. Good evening, Attorney Cassavant. How are you?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Very well, thank you.
Excellent. You want to go ahead?
This is a piece of property, 144 Center Street. It's legal non-conforming. It's about 26,000 square feet or so. And this Mary Simonson, who I believe is on, is to take down the current structure and rebuild a new home there. This would 3516 and Appendix B for the 40,000 square foot lot. As on the plan submitted, would otherwise meet all of the zoning setbacks, the 40,000 square feet. based on the neighborhood, if you had a chance to look at the memo and I did a map of the neighboring area, and it's very similar type lot for this area. There's a lot of undersized lot. Fortunately,
I'm losing you there a little bit, Rick.
yeah.
I don't know if everybody else is or not, but
I mean, now, Mrs. Spillane.
you were just cutting in and out a little bit, Rick.
He's on mute.
Yeah, well, now he is, but
Like, hear me now?
I heard you at the end there. I saw you talking though, and I wasn't hearing you. Is everybody hearing the same thing I am, or is it just me?
He's cutting out.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
okay. Rick,
Just have him
Walter,
dial in on the phone.
Is there a dial-in number I could try? Let me check.
there is. Hang on, Rick. Walter's actually gonna.
If you go under in the bottom left near the microphone, there's a little caret pointing up and you can switch to phone audio. It should give you a phone number there.
I'll give you the phone number. It's 646 558 8656. Okay, go ahead, Rick. I think that's you. I think you have to hit *6 on the phone to unmute.
All right.
Now,
Can you hear me now?
yep,
Okay, wow, sorry about that.
that's okay.
All sorts of noises happen on my end. So I guess I can start, because it sounded like you might have missed some of that. So again, Mrs. Simonson is seeking to construct a new home at 144 Center Street. Again, the lot's about 26,000. The 40,000 is required. The proposed structure would otherwise meet all the other setbacks, side, frontage, front and back. Obviously, it's a legal non-conforming. The neighborhood, and I attached a plan to the memo, which just showed that area, and you can see there's a lot of similar type houses, similar size lots in that area, some more non-conforming than others. Fortunately for hers, it would really just be the lot size. There's no other non-conformity on the property with the proposed home. So again, because I don't think there'd be no detriment to the good, to the neighborhood. I think we're in line with the intent of the bylaw. It's really just going to be reconstructing a home that's there, make it more modern, a little nicer, and it'll otherwise meet all the setbacks of the abutting properties.
Okay.
If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, just before we open it up to any of the members of the board for questions, if there are any members of the public that wish to speak on this matter, if you can use the raise hand function while the board is asking questions, I will come back to you momentarily. Ryan, any questions?
None for me, pretty straightforward.
Okay. Stephen?
None for me.
Tim?
Not for me also.
John? You're on mute, John.
Sorry about that. No questions.
No worries, no worries. Okay. Not seeing any members of the public raising their hands.
Move to close the hearing.
You okay with that, Rick?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
Motion made by Mr. Merlin to close, seconded by Mr. Cook. All in favor? Ryan?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes,
Tim?
Yes.
John?
Yes,
And I'll vote to close as well. Somebody want to make a motion on the application?
I'll make
motion
a
to approve.
Made by Mr. Merlin, seconded by
second.
Mr. Cook. All those in favor? Ryan?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes,
Tim?
Yes.
John?
yes.
And I vote to approve as well. So all set, Rick. Thank you. Sorry for the delay in getting you here, but
Thank you very much. And again, sorry for the technical difficulties.
no worries. Sounds like there's a lot of that going around tonight.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Good luck
All right.
tonight.
Take care. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
All right. Next, we have public hearing, variance number 22-5. Applicant is seeking zoning relief to allow a second freestanding internally illuminated sign for property at 703 Washington Street. Tim, do you want to read the advertisement and any comments that we may have?
Sure. The Easton Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 14th, 2022 at 6:35 PM to be held remotely in the following petition, variance. Heather Dudko for a property located at 703 Washington Street, Easton, Mass. Assessors map 37U, lot 79 for variance pursuant to MGL Chapter 40A, Subchapter 10, and Easton Code Book Chapter 235 zoning, Section 235-29 D, 2, and J. Applicant seeks permission to allow a second freestanding sign to replace an outdated existing sign on the property. The virtual meeting link will be contained with the posted agenda at least 48 hours in advance of the meeting. The notice is also available at masspublicnotices.org. These are the comments. Board of Health, not applicable. Fire Department, no comments or concerns. Planning and Zoning, at their meeting on May 23rd, 2022, the Planning Board voted 5-0 to recommend the variance application for 703 Washington Street. And that's it.
All right. Let's see. Good evening, Mr. Coe. How are you?
Hi, good evening. I'm very well. How are you?
Good. Do you have anybody joining you for this or?
I'm not quite sure.
Okay. I don't see, I recognize the names in the attendee list, so
Okay.
I don't think you do, so.
There was a gentleman, I believe his name was Elias, who might have been joining, but I don't.
He's not here yet if he is.
Okay, great. All
But
right.
I'll keep an eye open for him.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Go right ahead.
I'm going to attempt to share the screen, but I've only done that a few times, so I don't know if I'm able to do that.
You should be able to.
Okay, let me see. Oh.
Yep.
I did it. All right. Oh, now I'm going to mess you up. Hold on. All right, we'll start there. Okay. For the record, my name is Heather Dudko, 27 Old Meeting House Road in Auburn, Mass. And I work with the sign installer, National Sign. The petition before the board tonight is to replace the existing quick lane sign, which is shown in this picture. It's considered a second freestanding sign on the lot. Therefore, it requires a variance because zoning bylaw only allows for one freestanding sign per lot. I am told that originally when the sign was installed, it was on a separate lot. There were several lots here and have since been combined to one lot. So this makes it a pre-existing non-conforming freestanding sign on one lot. So that's just a little history that I learned. This is the picture of the existing sign. The sign box is 32 square foot and it's about 17 foot overall height. And it's on the entrance. And when you're looking at the lot, it's in the left driveway entrance on the left side of that driveway, closest to the quick lane entrance, the service entrance. Let's see if I can get, oh, good. Oh, that can't, okay. This is the picture of the proposed replacement sign. We did measure the entire structure at approximately 132 square foot per face. Zoning bylaw asks us, we have to apply for each side of the sign. So the total square foot area of the structure would be about 264 if we count the quick lane and all of the department and services below. The quick lane tire and auto center measures about 43 square foot. So just for that, advertising would be 43, but for to cover the entire structure, we measured it at 132 to make sure that we included everything. This shows I'm sorry.
Just keep going. You just had to keep going around the horn.
There we go. Yeah. It wasn't doing it for me though.
One more.
All right. This shows a street view of the two existing signs. So on the left here, on the left arrow is where the existing quick lane sign is. And then this also shows the existing Ford sign, which will remain in place. It will not change at all. So that will show how the two are in relation to each other. This is just a portion of the site plan showing where the existing Ford sign is, where the existing quick lane is, and where the replacement quick lane will be. They want to install it as close as possible to the existing foundation, but it will be a new installation, so they have to dig a new foundation, and it will conform to the setback of 15 foot from the street line.
Okay.
And the next picture just shows a sample of the illumination at night. We do ask that it be internally illuminated, but only the upper portion of the sign illuminates.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing below the blue portion will illuminate. So it's a pretty, it won't be a glaring illuminated sign. They have asked for the sign to illuminate from dusk till dawn. However, their operating hours are not 24 hours, so that if there's some consideration of when the sign should be shut off, I'm sure they'll accommodate that. So that's pretty much what the replacement will look like. The existing sign is pretty old, it's pretty worn, outdated. So that's the reasoning behind replacing the sign. The quick lane service center is not available at all Ford dealerships. So they want to be able to make sure that customers know that this is being maintained and still open and available in the services that are available to customers.
Okay.
Well, that's about what I have.
All right. Let me, if you don't mind, I'll stop the screen sharing.
Okay, thank you.
We'll go back to the panel here so I can see the attendees list. I'm not sure if I announced this at the beginning, but the members of the board that are on this hearing are Ryan Cook, Stephen Merlin, Tim McCall, John Curran, and myself. So why don't I open it up? John, do you have any questions, comments?
I guess just one question. Why do they want the sign illuminated from dusk until dawn?
That's probably just their standard request. But as I mentioned, their operating hours, I think the quick lane, the latest that they're open is about 6:30 Monday through Friday. So if there's no customers coming in after that, there would be really no reason to have it, lit overnight.
Okay, that's the only question I had.
Okay. Tim, any questions?
No.
Okay. Ryan?
I have a question. What was the total square footage you were looking for?
So
Was it 264 or something like that?
yeah, we measured the entire structure at 123 per face.
Yeah.
But bylaw asks us, we need to add both faces together for a total square footage.
All right, so I guess my question here would be, the zoning bylaw currently says one sign. Obviously, I think it's pre-existing, but it also says, what is it? Let me pull it up exactly. It says 100 square foot for
Yep.
single or double occupancy building, and
Yep.
we're way past 100 square feet. Were there any designs that were closer to the zoning bylaws?
Not that was shared with me at this point. So this is what we were asked to apply for.
It's the only question I had.
Okay.
Okay.
I think some of the reasoning, I know every community is different. I know measuring is different in every community. Sometimes we present it, so if you're just measuring the top portion where the actual name is, that comes in closer at 43 square foot. If we need to, like I said, every community is different, so we just present it, and in some areas, we're able to only measure the top portion because that is where the ID and the logo is, and we wouldn't have to include the departments below. Some communities, we need to incorporate the entire structure into the square footage. So in another area, I might have presented it only at 43 square foot because that's only the area where the ID is and the name is, but on a conservative level, we included the entire structure.
And just out of curiosity, where was the last photo that you showed? Do you know where that sign was?
I do not know where that sign is, no. No.
I'm just curious. Steve, any questions?
None for me.
Tim?
None for me.
Okay. I don't have any questions. I don't see any hands from anybody in the public.
Move to close the meeting then.
Okay.
Hearing.
Motion made by Mr. Merlin to close the hearing. Anybody want to second that?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Curran. All those in favor of closing? Stephen?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I will vote to close as well. Anybody want to have any discussion on this one?
Yeah, I mean, the zoning bylaws don't really give any great guidance. I mean, Ms. Dudko brings up a great point that obviously every town handles it differently. Taking the single sign out of the equation here, because this is pre-existing. How do we really evaluate what is 100 square foot? Is it just the lighted part? It doesn't say anything about lighting. Is it the entire sign? Is it both sides? It's kind of, in my opinion, kind of ridiculous. But I don't know how to evaluate this to the 100 square foot. It's 100 square foot of what?
Yeah. So just in my experience, and I've had to do this on any number of projects, what she said is correct. It depends on the town. It depends on, who you're making the presentation to and how they view it. I've been before towns and boards that are very, very strict, and it's both sides of the sign. And if you've got 100 square feet on one side and a double sign and it's 100 square feet on the other, and they only allow 100 square feet, you don't get that sign if they're strictly enforcing the bylaw. I don't know, like you said, we're replacing an existing sign. Yes, it's got a little bit more substance to it than the existing sign, set further back from the street, in my opinion. But I'm not one that gets too hung up on that stuff, but I certainly understand if it's an issue.
For me, it's just how do you evaluate it?
Yeah, no, I wish I could tell you exactly how you do that, but and I'll be honest with you, I did not look at the bylaw closely enough to read it closely enough to see what I would expect would be how we should be looking at it. My guess this exceeds what we would allow under the bylaw, which is, you know, why we're in part here. But that's more of an educated guess than anything else.
And for me, the way I look at it, I mean, that whole area, that is all zoned business. You got a long-standing business, and I like to, you know, thinking of decisions. I like to consider, you know, decisions that are, you know, pretty business friendly. I mean, we don't have an awful lot of business, you know, in town, so you want to have policies or at least businesses be able to look at us and say, you know, Easton's, you know, good town, pretty easy to do business with. They're reasonable. You know, obviously step in and say, hey, something's overboard, it has to be fixed. But I mean, to me, I can see as a business owner, the reason why you also want to label all the services you offer, because if someone's going by, you want people to be able to see that. Just saying fast lane service without the other stuff below it, I don't know what that means, but seeing the other services offered, I don't know.
Yep.
But I can see it as a visually looking at it is an improvement over what's existing there to begin with, so.
Of course. It just doesn't seem like anybody really feels strongly one way or another.
I'm in
Motion to-
favor of granting the request. I think they're taking one sign down and replacing it with one that's gonna look better. The bylaws are a little confusing, so maybe we could revisit that at a different time, but I mean, I didn't think it was, maybe the only concern I might have is that it stays illuminated beyond, let's say 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night, might be the only thing that, you know, I could see a butters complaining. Maybe we could add that in as a condition, but other than that, I didn't see anything that I objected to, but I'm just one guy.
I don't think there are abutters really. It's
The
right
post
on.
office across the street,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
No
there's
one's-
one house to the one side, and it's actually going to be further away from the house because it's going on the other side of this
Yeah.
driveway too. So
okay.
not much there.
Motion to approve
As is?
as is.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Merlin to approve. Does anybody
I'll
want to
second that.
second that? Mr. Cook seconded. All those in favor, Ryan,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes,
John,
Yes,
Tim,
Yes,
and I vote to approve as well. You're all set. We'll get that decision filed as quickly as possible and should
Okay.
have it in short order.
All right, thank you very much, everyone.
You're welcome.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night. All right. Next up, continued public hearing comprehensive permit number 21-10 Blackledge LLC for property located at 87 and 91 Union Street. Tim, I know we've had, I don't think there are any additional comments, but let me know. Everybody give me a minute here to promote everybody who's coming into this.
I didn't see any additional comments.
Okay, I didn't either, but I was just wanted to make sure. All right. So where we left off at the last hearing, there were a couple of minor, relatively minor, open items with I think the wastewater management issues, and we got a updated memo from Beta. I think today it was dated. Stephanie, you're on mute. There you go.
Yes, yes.
And everything.
I didn't get that if it came, so.
So just a little explanation. Beta had provided comments back in April, basically confirming that the project meets the DEP stormwater standards. They did have a few recommendations, and Conoco had submitted revised plans as well as revised stormwater documents. And that fell through the crack in going back to Beta in my department. We realized that today and forwarded the information, and they had a chance to review it. So the report was uploaded to Permitize, and I did send it out to everyone today as well, Steve. You may not have seen it in the email. It was a little bit, probably mid-afternoon.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but that's fine.
Rick or Walter, do one of you just want to quickly mention what was in there, or I don't know if Stephanie,
No,
you
I have
want
it
to
open,
just,
Mike, I have it open right in front of me. Good
Okay.
evening, Walter Marioni, for the record, attorney representing the applicant, Marioni Shaughnessy and Udi. Just the one sentence that is the summary, I think, tells the tale, which confirms what we suspected at the last meeting and what Conoco Engineering reported. And I'll read it. It says, based on our review of the project documents and plans, the development will meet the requirements of the Mass DEP stormwater management standards, the town of Easton subdivision rules and regulations, and generally accepted engineering practices. And that is from Beta, who's the peer review engineer for both the ZBA and the Conservation Commission. And the letter is addressed to both the Board of Appeals and the Conservation Commission. So I think that closes the last loop that was open at the end of the last meeting in terms of getting that final peer review comment back from Beta, just confirming that their review was complete and they found the project to be sufficient under the regs.
thank you, appreciate that. Given that, is there anything else anybody wants to add?
I have a question, Michael.
Go ahead, Stephen.
Something that we never discussed before. So in getting ready for this, I went back to the beginning and looked at every document from the beginning, and one of them was the budget. So I just want to ask Rick, Rick was probably better to answer this than Walter. Is this budget as originally done a year and a half ago still viable given increase in interest rates and inflationary costs? How much more is this going to set you back, I guess?
Well, it's a great question. And I'm sorry, this is Rick Lincoln, applicant. Yep. With Blackledge LLC. You know, we had a crazy spike in materials there some time back. You know, it has subsided somewhat, but just to give everybody a snapshot, you know, a piece of plywood subfloor called Advantech is probably $70, and you know, a year ago it was maybe $35. Although materials aren't the majority of these costs, there's a lot of soft costs, architects, all that stuff is already spent. Probably my short answer would be that I have rerun the numbers. Mass housing, you know, if I'm fortunate enough to get through this and it gets approved, I have to file a final approval package to Mass Housing. And I would say that the increase in rental rates has probably offset the increase in materials prices. Do I have to put probably a little more money into it myself? Sure. Bank could probably lend a little bit more money, but it's certainly viable. You know, apartments tend to do even better if the recession comes along. You know, hopefully we're not in recession, but you know, they tend to be a bit recession proof. So I don't know if that muddied the waters, you know, no. Steve, but.
Well, no, I wasn't clear. In other words, I guess the point that I'm asking you, if you can even answer, is the monthly cost of a rental unit going to go up because of the economy, etc. right now? So you gave initial prices, estimated rentals. are you gonna have to increase those to cover some of your costs? That's what I'm asking now.
No, I would say the short answer would be I don't need to. What happens when it hits the market in a couple of years, you know, the brokers are out there and we just rent based on market price. I have no idea what that might be. The world's on fire. It might even go down. I don't know, but I don't have to make it viable.
Okay. I'm good, Michael.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. Anybody else have any questions, issues they want to raise? To Rick. No, I don't see any hands. Why don't Mike Kennefick, can I bring you in and sort of have you walk through next logical steps for us?
Yeah, so if you remember the last meeting we had, there was kind of a go back and forth over whether or not you wanted to close then and then deliberate tonight, or keep the hearing open and basically discuss the decision. But I said in either event, I would have a proposed decision for you tonight. And Stephanie and I have spent the last couple of weeks putting one together. Actually, we sent a copy over to Attorney Marioni. He took a look at it as well. I think everybody on the board has a copy. I hope that they were all able to get them in their email this afternoon. So I think my role, at least, I think we would just go over what I've drafted and receive any comments that any of the board members have, or if there are any questions or changes that they think they want the decision, we can do that as well.
Do we
Is
have
there-
to close? Do we have
it
to
was-
close the hearing to do that?
I think somebody's got their hand raised.
Yep, hang on.
File.
Mike, before we do that, would we close the hearing before we start going through the decision, or do we leave it open while we're doing that?
I would recommend that you close the hearing.
Okay.
And then, obviously, once the hearing is closed, we move right into deliberation, and we can just, go over the what we drafted and see if any changes need to be made, or the threshold matter is if we want to approve the project. But
Yep.
we would review that through deliberation instead of in a hearing.
Okay, so let me, Attorney Pyle has her hand raised, so let me go to her first before we entertain any motions. Good evening, Attorney Pyle, how are you?
Good evening. Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to ask a question. I'm sorry I didn't get my hand up sooner. I thought you were just asking the board for their comments.
Nope, that's okay.
I have a question about something carried over from last time. At the last hearing, there was a discussion about wetlands code waivers and whether the conservation agent had given an opinion on that. And I see that there's an updated staff memo from May 13th saying that the conservation agent would provide her opinion about waivers under a separate cover. And I do not believe that that's happened yet. And we confirmed with the conservation agent that she has not provided any opinion about the waivers. So I think that's still an outstanding issue that we would like to see addressed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Tim?
I guess on that, it still had, we're closing the hearing for us and the planning board. It's still going to go before conservation, correct? Or is this the final piece of the puzzle, and then it's, shovel in the ground, ready to go? It's my first 40B coming in from this side, so I'm a little confused as to what, it was my understanding that they'd still have to appear before conservation, and the waiver would be whether we would waive the town bylaw and leave just the state bylaw in place.
Go ahead, Attorney Pyle.
If I may, the Conservation Commission will review the requirements under the State Wetlands Protection Act, but Easton has a robust and comprehensive wetlands code, and the decision about whether to waive that is within your purview. And the last written correspondence in your file from the conservation agent, Jennifer Carlino, was that there were still certain matters that had not been addressed, and that she was going to be providing her opinion about waivers under separate cover, and nothing was received. And I don't believe that she's provided any opinion about waivers on that issue. And since you have such a model code, as you heard Pat Gardner testify at one of the earlier hearings, we would ask that that you have her input on this before you make any decision about waivers, and that her comments should be part of the hearing before the hearing is closed. I also, my colleague Dan Hill, I think has joined, but has not been elevated to a panelist. So I'd appreciate it if you could elevate him too. Thank you.
Okay. Stephanie, do we know if Jennifer is still looking into those issues?
In fact, Jennifer did provide a response, which was uploaded to Permitize a few months ago on the waivers, and was sent around to the board a couple of weeks ago as a reminder that it did exist.
I think that there's still the most recent correspondence is that she was going to provide an opinion.
I have talked with Jennifer. Jennifer works for me, and she has not indicated that she will be providing any additional comments on the waivers.
I think she didn't know if the board was looking for her to do that. Our conversations with her were that what I said before, that she was going to provide something under separate cover. So I think this is an area that needs clarification. And
again, Mr. Spillane, if I may,
yeah,
again, I will repeat, Jennifer reports to me. We've had conversations on this, and at no point has she told me she was going to provide any additional comments on the waiver under separate cover.
Okay, I appreciate that. Are there any board members that feel that they need any additional information?
Our last item was dated December 29th, 2021, correct?
No, 5/4/22.
5/4/22, yeah.
Staff report revised too, and I thought that she commented on what was outstanding. At least I took it that way. It's a 2-page report.
Okay, yep, I see. I got it. Yeah, okay. Just got my stuff in the wrong pile. Never mind.
Stephen, are you okay with what we've got for?
I mean, she made some comments. She didn't answer everything, you know, but I mean, she did say, so one of them is proposed work has moved further from the wetland, but the restoration planting plan has not been addressed, whatever that means. Discharge pipe resolved. Draft stormwater pollution prevention plan resolved. You know, I'll take Stephanie Danielson's word that if Jennifer reports to her and there's nothing else coming, we go with what we have.
Okay. Michael?
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in, I guess. Tim was absolutely right when he raised this issue. The Concom issue is a separate issue in a separate process. They're just going to review the state process, the state requirements. It's this board's responsibility to review the local regulations and issue waivers. And so, yeah, I just wanted to clarify, you know, what Tim had asked. He's accurate. That's how the process goes.
Okay. I don't have any additional questions. I understand, you know, there are still issues that people feel need to be resolved, and I can certainly appreciate that. I am prepared to close the hearing and go forward. I don't know if any of the other board members are or not. Steve?
Yeah, so I was the one, I think, that convinced everyone to keep it open until today. There was some talk about doing that. And, you know, I had my question about the budget. You know, we beat a lot of these issues to death, whether you like them or don't like them is, you know, your personal taste. But I think I'm prepared, and I will move to close the hearing.
Okay. Before we do that, Mr. Lincoln, Attorney Marioni, either one of you want to add anything before we close?
No, we'd request that you close at this point, Mr. Spillane.
Okay. I do want to thank Attorney Pyle, Attorney Hill, and Attorney Marioni, Mr. Lincoln, and all of your people who contributed, provided us with information on both sides of this. I think it was invaluable, and I do, you know, want to say that the board is giving everything careful consideration. That being said, we have a motion to close the hearing from Mr. Merlin. Does anybody want to second that?
Second it.
Seconded by Mr. Curran. All those in favor? Stephen?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And I vote to close as well. Next up, Michael, do you want to walk through?
Yeah, so does everybody have what I drafted and was emailed out today?
I do.
Okay. I know
Can we
some
get
of the,
some discussion first before Mike does that?
yeah.
Well, we can. Yeah, go ahead, Steve. I mean, I figured we'd be having it during this, but
Oh, well, I just wrote notes in no particular order. Don't assume by any one of the notes which way I'm voting. So as I understand these, and either Mike jump in, Stephanie jump in and tell me if I got something wrong. So in a comprehensive permit, it's 3 out of 5 votes, whichever way it is needed, not 4 out of 5. Is that right?
Yes. Correct.
Okay. This program is what they call a LIP, or a Friendly 40B, Local Initiative Program, which means that instead of the developer coming in gangbusters that I want to do something, the developer gets in with the select board, and they hash out certain mitigation expenses and so forth. And there's a memorandum of understanding or something that if the program goes through, there is certain mitigation in place from the developer to the select board. When I first saw the project, I used the expression in my mind, it's non-intrusive, which means the location, I don't want to say it's off the beaten path, but it's not bothering anyone's house, anyone's neighborhood or anything else. I know it's on Union Street and there's traffic and there's different things, but it's set back, the buildings itself, and I know where it is. And sometimes I go by and I'm looking for it and I miss it. Different issues. At the time of the application, Easton already had 10.3% affordable housing units is approved by the state, the so-called safe harbor. So safe harbor, as I always understood it, means that when a program comes in, the board has a right to look at it differently than if we're under 10%. We have more leeway. The appeal of the developer goes to this, what's it called, Housing Appeal Board. And if we're already in safe harbor 10%, it's almost impossible for the developer to win for any legitimate reason. Okay, however, the 10.3%, which is still in effect, is based on the 2010 census. The 2020 census is out, but the figures, to the last I heard, have not yet been approved. So it's 10% of the full-time housing units in the town. We had approximately 8,100 of those in the 2010 census, which means we needed a little over 800 affordable housing units, and we had 835. We were good. My reading and all this means when we get the 2020 census, when you add Avalon and all these other projects, there's another 1,000 housing units in the town in the last 10 years, which means we need another 100 affordable units to stay in safe harbor. There's some coming on, some coming off, but let's just say 100. 100's a round number. This project is 108, and in a weird sense of counting, even though only 25% of it is affordable units, the state allows any town to do the whole project, 108 units. So we get 108 units. Approval of this project basically means that we're probably in safe harbor for the next 10 years until the next census, pretty close. Rick Lincoln is a known developer in this town. If I remember correctly, there was a failed project and he was helping bail it out. And he has a respectable reputation with those that need to know him for being able to deliver what he says. And that's why I was kind of curious on the budget items with interest rates going up and so forth. His answer, whether he could still do this. Now there's lots of conservation waivers, town conservation waivers here. There's lots of traffic questions that still have to be figured out how we do it coming out of the project versus on Union Street. So there are some things to consider here, but those are the issues that I see that if we're voting, we have to put all these in perspective and come up with whatever it is that we want to do. So I'll let it go with that for now, Michael. Thank you.
You're welcome, Steve. And you were, as far as I knew, right on just about everything you said.
For a change. I had help from Stephanie. So.
Go ahead, Michael, why don't you kick things off,
Okay.
and then if you don't mind.
Yeah. So I know some of the board members are veterans. You've been through this process quite a few times, and you could probably write these decisions yourselves. But for some of the newer members, this is kind of their first go around. You'll see the decision is basically broken up into 4 sections. One is just a recitation of the procedural history, which is section 1. Section 2, which is on page 2, is just a project and property description. And then you move on to page 4, that's section 3, that's your findings. Specifically here, and if anybody has any questions about the project in sections 1 and 2, I can obviously answer those, but I think they're pretty self-explanatory. They're just kind of giving the background. 3 is a finding that this is general language. You see these in most permits, comprehensive permits. It's a finding that the board makes that additional afforded housing is something that the board finds needed in the town of Easton, and that the waivers that are granted override the local concerns. So the big one, I think, and again, if anybody has any questions about the findings section, we can discuss that as well. But I think the conditions are usually what most zoning boards are concerned about. So I think I could probably just go through those, and instead of reading all 13 pages, I'll kind of just paraphrase each paragraph. And if
I think that's fine. Hit the high notes.
Yeah, and if anybody feel free to stop me and ask either me or Stephanie any questions. Stephanie, she she really did a lot of work to get this done with us over the last week or so. Yeah, I just wanted to thank her for all of her help as well. So the conditions are, the decision and conditions start on page 5. One is just an introductory paragraph. Number 2 is, no construction can start until Mass Housing issues its final approval. That's a regulatory requirement. 3 just reiterates that the project will no more than 108 units, which is what we've always known throughout this entire process. 4, no construction shall commence until the board's engineer or other agent as appointed by the town has approved the final site plan. So there's still a lot of work to be done after this. The applicant will still have to submit, plans of everything, and that will continue to be reviewed by your engineers and Stephanie and other representatives of the town going forward. So it's not like we're just issuing the permit and giving them the green light. There will be quite a bit of oversight, and I think you can kind of see it here. Number 5, this one deals specifically with the Monk House. It requires that the house be permanently preserved on the site with historical condition approval for any kind of relocation or work or design related to the relocation of that house. Paragraph 6, the applicant is required to retain, relocate, and rebuild the existing stone walls along Union Street after all the regrading is complete. I think we love historic stone walls in New England, and in this case, you're going to be preserving one, so significant one. 7, that's kind of a site paragraph. The applicant shall be responsible for scheduling a pre-construction meeting with town officials. Also, we'll have meetings at least once every 3 months where the town officials or representatives go down and kind of check out what's going on and meet with the developer. 8, that kind of just reiterates that the final site plans will require the submission of an enhanced landscaping plan. 9, that also describes the final site plans. It says that the applicant is required to include a detailed phasing and construction sequencing plan for the board's engineer in Stephanie's review. 10, the final site plans will require a construction mitigation plan, to deal with dust control, stockpiling materials, trucking routes, stuff like that, just to make sure that there's a minimal impact to the surrounding area, or as minimal as possible. 11 just requires that as-built plans be provided prior to the occupancy permits being issued. 12 talks about the connection to the public water system and kind of outlines the DPW director's role in reviewing and approving the connection. 13 kind of adds on to the water connection issue and the DPW's role. I think some of that could actually probably be condensed into one paragraph, but yeah, I think that's fine. So paragraph 11, all final site plans shall depict the final design of the drainage system that exhibits compliance with all best management practices and stormwater management guidelines. I'm sorry. Also requires that the applicant provide our office and Stephanie with an operation and management plan for that system. Paragraph 12 talks about final site plans. It requires the submission of photometric plans, proposed lighting, requires that lighting be dark sky friendly. Paragraph 13, that requires that plans be provided by a structural engineer if there are any retaining walls installed in the project. 14 lists for more requirements concerning construction monitoring. 14A is there has to be an on-site inspection with Stephanie and the applicant and his representatives. 14B.
Mike,
Yeah.
hang on a second.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to feel like you have to necessarily walk through the whole
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
thing. Is this helpful for you guys, or is this not necessary? Because the one thing I did want us to just sort of dive into and make sure everybody's comfortable with is
Yeah.
16 and the waivers and the list of waivers and what
Oh, okay,
exactly
yeah.
that means. Are you guys okay if we kind of skip to that?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Okay, yeah,
I agree.
that's absolutely fine.
Okay.
So which paragraph did you want to skip?
Well, it's 16 and it makes reference to the list of the requested waivers. It's not so much the paragraph in the decision. It's just making sure everybody's comfortable with what it is that, you know, the waivers are and what they mean. And I don't know if, again, I don't know that you need to explain, you know, all of the various waivers and what they mean, but does anybody have any specific questions for Mike on any of the waivers? Go ahead, Tim.
Beating the dead horse. If the, all right, I'm good. If the waiver specific to the local conservation bylaws isn't granted, can the Conservation Commission itself waive those requirements? I mean, I'm looking at this site, it's engineered to the nth degree, so I don't see why this would be something that the commission wouldn't allow. I just think it's, you know, we have these local bylaws for a reason, and I think it would be nice to have them weigh in, but that's just my opinion. I don't know how that would work, and I see Stephanie ready to jump in,
Yeah,
so go ahead.
Mike, could I answer that
Go ahead.
question?
Go ahead.
And thank you, Tim. That's a good question, because in fact, that is what would happen. Mr. Lincoln would go and request waivers of those performance standards from the Conservation Commission directly. He'd have to meet the standards that have been set forth for granting a waiver. But the board would, if they felt that he had met those standards for granting a waiver, the board could waive those.
And in your opinion, this project would meet those standards?
I believe it could, yes.
Yeah, I mean, considering the site was disturbed to begin with, so it's not like he's chopping down virgin forest. Okay, that's all I have.
Okay.
So just to clarify, so in other words, we can defer to the Conservation Commission on the waivers? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
No.
Seems like.
Go ahead.
No, under the statute, it's your responsibility to grant the waiver. So the conservation, they can provide comments. The state statutory and regulatory requirements cannot be waived throughout this process. So
No, not the state
I'm
ones,
still
but our
looking
local
at
bylaw ones.
That was my question, the local bylaws. Not
No, we would either waive it or not waive it.
okay. So then,
I'm sorry, yes, I think that's correct. That it's up to the, and I'm going to defer to Walter and Michael. I mean, I was basing it, I think what Tim was trying to get to was, would there be a mechanism if they hadn't requested the waiver, the local waivers? Does the bylaw provide a mechanism for waivers? It does. But I think that, and Mike and Walter aren't helping me out here, but I do think I
No, Walter's got his
misspoke
hand
in
raised. I
that-
just want.
I'm just
sorry.
waiting for the chairman
I
to
think I
acknowledge you.
misspoke in saying that implying that the board could give the commission the authority to waive.
Go ahead, Walter.
So, to be clear, we've asked the board to waive the local bylaw. The local bylaw is under the jurisdiction of this board and this board only. I think what Stephanie is describing is the process that would occur if this were not a 40B. If this were a special permit or a subdivision, then this board or the planning board would have no jurisdiction under the local wetlands bylaw. But there is still a mechanism for the Conservation Commission to waive provisions of the local bylaw. And when Stephanie said, I believe this project would meet those standards or could meet those standards, that's what she was referring to. If this were a conventional project before a different board. But what we're asking this board for is a waiver of the local bylaw, and only this board has that jurisdiction.
Right.
So I think all of those answers were correct. I think it was just a little unclear, but there is a performance standard that you have to meet for a traditional project, conventional project, to get waivers from the local bylaw under the local bylaw. Does that make sense?
I think you cleared it up. So in summary, since this is through 40B, sorry, I got this motorcycle guy out front of my office for some reason. Anyway, so you're under 40B, we would be the ones to make that determination. And then you would be under obviously the state bylaws, just not the, we could waive the local bylaw and it's totally up to us.
A full notice
Correct.
of intent filing with the local commission, and the commission will consider it. And some of the comments that Jennifer made in that letter in the beta review to the Conservation Commission are addressing the filing to the local commission under the state act, State Wetlands Protection Act.
Okay.
John, does
So
that?
you handle the local bylaw, the commission handles the State Wetlands Protection.
Right. Right. John, does that make sense? Does that help?
Yes, when it was originally being described, it almost sounded like we could kick the can to the
Defer?
Conservation Commission.
Yeah, no.
That's
No,
clearly
that's-
not the case.
No, we
That's
either
why,
have,
Mr. Chairman.
we either have to allow the waiver or
that's why they call it a comprehensive permit. The whole project is given to us.
Did everybody else on the board have a chance to go through the decision? I don't know if there are any, I didn't see anything that jumps out at me as being an issue that I wanted to discuss with you.
I have a question. Always me.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yep, no,
So we had a discussion a few meetings back when I raised issue about a mirror on exiting the like we did at the library, and someone said that had to go to the Board of Selectmen or something, and we could put it in the decision. Am I right? Am I wrong? Do we want to do that? I'm just trying to remember what I thought I heard at the time, and I didn't see anything relative to that in it. I know Walter said if the Board of Selectmen wanted us to put up a mirror, he'd be happy to do so. I don't know whether it's viable or not, whether there's a spot to do it. But I wouldn't mind seeing that in there somewhere, if the selectmen are willing or if it's an option.
Michael, go ahead.
My suggestion would be to leave that solely to the select board. They're the ones that make a determination usually for signage. The other thing is, I know for a fact that Maya, who's the insurer, generally instructs towns that they don't want mirrors for liability issues. We've had this issue come up a few times where they've said that they would disclaim any kind of coverage that was based on a claim that installed with the authorization of the town. So I think that's something that we would have to discuss later. I wouldn't want to include it here now.
Fair enough.
Anybody else have any questions about the decision itself? Did you have a chance to go through it. Does anybody have any questions for Michael?
No.
Okay. Procedurally, then, are Rick and Walter, you guys had a chance to review the decision? Where do we stand on that?
We have, or I have, I'll defer to
Okay.
Rick after I speak. I have two, one comment and one requested change. I visited this change with both Stephanie and Mike, so they're aware I'm going to ask her. The comment is a simple comment that, and maybe it's just a product of emailing the decision, but the numbering is not sequential. It gets messed up on, at least on the email version on page 7. It's top of page 7 is number 13, and then it drops back down to 11 and starts from there. So that's not a big deal. Maybe it's
Okay,
just
yeah.
the emailing to me. The other requested change that we have, and this is something that this board has done in the past for other rental projects, including Avalon and the 244 Washington Street. Those are the two that come to my mind. I'm not sure what we did on Beacon, but the pacing of one affordable for 4 market rates is a pretty typical pacing requirement for 4 sale projects. It works fine, but because of the nature of the pacing of rentals and the fact that the rentals for the affordables is driven by the lottery agent, by the marketing consultant, it's nearly impossible to keep up with that pace. So what we're proposing, and this is what the board did on the Avalon project, is to pace it a little differently. So we're proposing that for the first third, to block it in 30. So the first 30, you get 8 affordables, which is actually 25% is actually 7.5. So we bump it to 8, and then the next 30, the same 8, the next 30, the same 8. And then in the final 18, there's only 3 affordables left, which is less than 25%. So for the final 18, you'll get the 3 final affordables in there. I think that's just a better product based upon Rick's experience of other town that works better. Based upon my experience with other clients in other towns, that works. And again, this request is just for rental projects. And it is consistent with what this board did on the Avalon Bay project.
What number and page is that, Walter?
So it's page, I don't want to give you, it's page 10, it's number 25.
Okay.
I don't want to promise you that's the way it's going to look on yours, Steve, but that's what it is on the one that I received at the very end of the day.
Yeah, I got it.
Steve, I think
one out of 4.
it's
Number 24.
24 on ours.
Yeah, I got it. I knew I read it.
Yeah. So we're requesting a modification of that to the numbers that I just read, which are, again, consistent with the Avalon decision.
And I think that makes sense under the circumstances. I agree that you can get hung up on the rentals with the lottery system and so forth. So I'm fine with that change. Go ahead, Mike.
Stephanie, I think didn't we? I thought I saw that in email today. We spent so much time going back and forth, and I apologize because some people might have different versions. But I thought we included that. No.
I thought we had as well, but it didn't make it in. I
Okay.
went back and double checked. Wayne Beitler and I, the community planner, talked about it, and it seemed reasonable to us as well.
Okay. Maybe it was just in an email.
I
do
emailed
remember
it at
that.
the very end of the day, Mike. I emailed it around to everybody at the very end of the day.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
might be what
okay.
you saw.
Okay.
Yeah, saying, hey, I think we missed this. The heads
Yeah.
up, we're going to ask the
Okay.
board when we
Okay.
get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's definitely in the Avalon project. I don't remember.
I can read it to you if you'd like. I happen to have the decision in front of me.
I'd be
the Avalon-
surprised if you didn't.
I think I wrote an awful lot of it, but the Avalon decision, because of course Avalon is a much larger project, right? There are a lot
Yep.
more units there. So the Avalon project phased in their first phase, they did 20 for 80 units. So they did 25% exactly. we did a half a unit more. So when you got to our final 18, they'd be under 25%. So Avalon, I mean, again, to read it says the 20 of the first 80 units must be leased to income eligible. Thereafter, 5 out of every 20. So they went 25% at every block. We went a little more than 25%. So at the end of our block of 3, which is 90, you'll have 1.5 units more than 25%. Greater than. Whereas Avalon blocked it at 25% all the way. Same thing. I mean, it doesn't, you know, it's just a rounding of its math.
Like I said, seems reasonable from my perspective.
Other than that,
Anybody-
I have no other comments. I thought the decision was very fair
Yes. Yeah, no, thank you.
and very typical of what the board does.
So
So
where does
Michael-
that leave us?
At this point, Michael, we can, in theory, vote on the decision to be as edited during the discussion tonight.
Yeah, so what I usually do is you do a vote to, you know, sign the comprehensive permit, and if there are any, like you said, any edits, those are to be made, and then I can just email it to Suzanne, and we don't even have to have another meeting. Once you've approved the decision in all of the contents, you don't have to get back together again. It's easier, you know, you don't have to, you know, all run down to town hall all at the same time. You can, you know, whenever your schedule allows. So if there are no other questions, you can just approve the comprehensive permit with the change that our council was requesting for the applicant.
And just to be clear for all the members of the board's edification, we can't raise new issues via email after tonight, correct?
Yeah, if you vote to approve the comprehensive permit with this one additional change, that's it. I'll make those changes, and then you have to sign it in the form that you had voted to approve.
Right. You guys comfortable with that? Tim's on mute, but,
I am.
okay, John.
I'm good.
Ed, you comfortable with that?
I think it's time to make a decision.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion?
A move to approve the project subject to the final draft of town council decision, I guess.
Right, and just to be specific, renumbering the paragraphs throughout the decision and amending the phasing of the affordable units to the schedule that was discussed tonight, specifically 8 affordables for each 30 block of apartment units that are leased.
I got a question, speaking of that, for maybe Rick can answer. Are the affordables all in one place, or are they spread out throughout the project?
Yeah, that hasn't been asked before, so that's a good question. Typically, we assign units and Mass Housing and the affordable housing consultant approve the locations. And it has to be generally, you know, 25% 1 bedrooms, 25% 2 bedrooms, 25% 3 bedrooms. And they're fairly disparate. You can't put everybody, for instance, on the first floor and then try and get all the expensive units up on the 3rd floor. You know, it's got to be sprinkled down, you know, with some logic.
Okay. Thought I'd ask.
Okay. So we have a motion by Mr. Merlin to approve the project with the amended decision. Somebody want to second that motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Curran. All those in favor? Stephen?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes,
Dramatic pause there, Ed, or,
it's a tough one.
okay. And I vote to approve as well. Thank you, guys. Appreciate your persistence and your assistance in getting us to this point. Stephanie, thank you so much for your hard work and assistance, and Mike as well.
Well, you're welcome, and Suzanne as well.
Suzanne as well, yes.
Brings a lot of eyes to these things too.
Well,
she-
and- but for Suzanne, we wouldn't all be on Zoom right now, so.
Yeah, she's very detail oriented. She caught quite a few typos of mine, so
Well,
thank God for
Walter's-
Suzanne.
Walter's partner's last name needs to be corrected, but.
No, he corrected it on the final version that came
Oh,
through
okay.
today.
It's-
I'm guessing Jay Talaman caught that and said, hey, come on, I don't mess up your name. You gotta pick Judy's name.
Like, what?
But
I
echo
saw that. I said, oh,
thank you all
when
too.
did Dave leave? Huh?
I echo the same sentiment. I thank everybody. It's a lot of work. These are really hard. They're hard on the board. They're hard on staff. And you know, I've sat on that side of the table for a long time. I really recognize the time that you guys put into this. So, you know, on behalf of Rick and for myself, I mean that sincerely. Thank you very much.
Our pleasure, and thanks for all the information, and like I said, for everybody hanging in there and everyone's persistence in getting through this, so. So Mike, next step, you'll just fix those minor edits, send it to Stephanie, and then
Yeah.
we'll all get it through her, or?
Yeah, I'll do it first thing in the morning.
Okay, guys, just remember, when you're looking at it, if you have questions, you can email or call Michael or Stephanie. Do not hit reply all and make it a board email, okay?
Mhm.
All right,
Understood.
thanks, guys.
Fair enough.
All right, well, that will conclude the comprehensive permit hearing. We have a couple of minor administrative things to take care of. So I thank you guys for joining in.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Appreciate everyone's time.
Thank you.
And if you don't mind, Mike, I'm going to sign off as well.
Yep, go
Have a
right
good
ahead.
night. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Stephanie. Thanks, Michael. So first thing on our board list is, second thing actually, approval of the May 17th minutes.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion made by Mr. Cook to approve, seconded by
I'll
I'll
second.
second it.
everyone. I'll pick Mr. Curran. All those in favor, John,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
and I vote to approve as well. Suzanne, do we do board reorganization tonight, or is that July? I know that,
In the past, we've done it at this meeting in June, up to you.
do we have, is everybody in? I forget who needed to reapply. I know Jeremy did, and
I did. I haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard anything either.
yeah, so the appointments haven't been made and do we know if anyone else did it? I think it's safer to do it in July after.
yeah,
the
I
selectmen
do too.
Sure.
do
I
it.
do too under the circumstances. If just in case there's any issues or if somebody has second thoughts or whatever, but I don't even know that we can reorganize the board itself until we know who the members are in July. So I think procedurally, we got to at least wait for Ryan and Jeremy to get the A-OK.
Okay.
All right, so why don't we table that until July?
Sure.
Is there, I didn't see any new applicants for July. Are we gonna have? a
There
meeting?
aren't any, so that's the other issue. Now,
Okay, so
that was my
that's.
second
so-
question. Suzanne, do we need to come back and do this in July?
I have to find out from Mike Blanchard. I saw him today, but I didn't ask him this specific.
Yeah, so the members stay until we reorganize.
Until there's another, right, so.
That's what he said.
Yeah, so I don't think we need to have a special meeting just to do that.
No,
And are we
I agree.
outside the filing deadline?
Oh, mid-month. It's close.
Not yet, right?
it's close, but what I was going to suggest, because the governor has not let us know yet if we can continue on Zoom, well, nothing's continuing, but I think we should have an option of meeting in Frothingham or on Zoom.
So I know so if something in theory gets filed tomorrow and that's in
Correct.
time for July, you need to tell them where we're going to be, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I know we had this conversation before. Does anybody feel strongly or more strongly or less strongly about meeting in person?
I mean, I feel that we should all try to meet in person, but I mean, I think we could also benefit from the technology if it isn't glitchy. Somebody's unable to get to the meeting, or they could still do a Zoom, and we still have quorum and those kind of situations. So I think we should be able to try to use both. I guess would be my thought.
Do both.
Wasn't the memo that we're not equipped to do hybrid?
I don't know that I don't know that that's an option. My understanding is it's not right now. I mean,
Okay.
I can see if I can find out. I don't have an objection to doing it if that's the case, but
Couldn't you do it like every 3 months or something, or every 4 months?
we may or may not even have the option. I think that the governor's order, I guess, or permission is through the third week in July at this point. So I think we can have the July meeting on Zoom in theory if we wanted to. It doesn't look like we are likely to have a July meeting, but
If someone does advertise, I would be in touch with you, Michael, to figure out. I did reserve Frothingham.
right. No. You told me, and I guess, absent us making a decision tonight, what we're going to do, I get to make the decision.
Correct.
And tell you where to advertise it for. So, I just, I'm happy to get everybody's input, and I think I've got it, but, push comes to shove, what does everybody want to do in July if we actually have a meeting?
Zoom
One
for July.
Zoom for July. I'm going to wear a mask if it's Frothingham, but
Nope, no problem. As long as you're still comfortable going.
I go to court, so
Okay,
I was there until 5 o'clock today. So
fair. John?
Yeah, I mean, I say Zoom if the July meeting is simply for an administrative.
Well, we won't have to. We won't have to do this for administrative purposes. But the only reason we'd have a July meeting at this point is if somebody gets an application in, probably in
I see.
like the next 4 days. So
Right.
this week, basically. They don't get it in this week, they're not going to hit the advertising requirements. Although it's July 19th, so right? That's
Right.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I don't know. It's too late for me to do math in my head.
I'm comfortable with Zoom. That seems to be the consensus.
Okay, so Suzanne, why don't, just for July anyways, we'll stick with Zoom. Just so you guys know, I haven't logged in from home in a long time. I've been in my office, and for some reason Zoom decided it needed to verify I was, not somebody trying to get in illegally, and they were trying to send a code to the email address that we used to log in, and no one has access to the email address, which is what the delay was in getting us on tonight. So
okay.
all the unexpected stuff, now it'll be expected. Next time I'll keep an eye on it, but
All right. We ready for a motion to adjourn?
I think we are. Suzanne, you
made.
okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
So made.
Motion made by
Seconded.
Mr. Merlin to adjourn, seconded by Mr. Watson. All those in favor, John,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
and I vote to adjourn as well, and Jeremy votes to adjourn as well. All right. Thank you, guys. I do appreciate you guys hanging in there for the last year now on this comprehensive permit. And
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
and
Good
thank
night.
you, Suzanne.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good
for
night.
everything. And
Take
we'll
care.
see you guys in maybe July and probably August.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Take care, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.